All right, good morning. My name is Julia Ryan, and I have been a trainer for RMLS for about 22 years. So what we're going to be covering today is searching and prospecting in RMLS Web, just as the title of the class says, okay? And we're going to give you a strong overview of all of the different ways to search, and we're going to get in depth into just one or two of them. But once we get into those few, you're going to be able to extrapolate from that how to use other areas of the system. Okay. The biggest learning curve that you're going to have with searching is knowing what data is available to search. Okay. So that's going to mean getting to know what fields we have, not just bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage, but what about things like fireplaces and dome homes and things like that. So as a little cheat sheet, I would recommend navigating over to the toolkit, going to all documents, and then over on the tags, look for what's called listing forms. Scroll down until you find the residential form and contract. Now there's two of them, so be careful. You do not want the e-form, but you do want the manual form. And the reason for that is, as a cheat sheet, you can scroll down or even print off for yourself the data input form. And the data input form has all of the different fields that you can search by. Right? So you can see all of the different choices. So if somebody's asking you for a shake siding, for example, you can find that on the list and there it is. Okay. So it is a great cheat sheet to use when you're searching. Again, to get to it, you're going to go to Toolkit, All Documents, go to your, go to your listing forms, and then find the residential form and contract manual form, not the e-form. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So there's a lot of different ways to search in RMLS Web. And one of the fastest and easiest ways is right here from the home page. Now, this is designed with the idea in mind that you kind of already know what you're looking for. Okay, you have a particular address that you're looking for, or you're a particular agent. You can see you have three different options here above the search box. You can search by listings, by MLS number, and you can have, I believe, up to 18 different MLS numbers. You'll just put them in there separated by commas. And so on. Okay, and then you'll get search. When you click on search over here, you'll find those MLS numbers. You can also search by address. Okay, I highly recommend, if you're searching by address, that you keep it short and sweet and simple. Okay, leave out the street direction and the street suffix. So that means no northwest or south or east in the address, and no avenue, way, boulevard, street after the street name. The reason for that is sometimes that is omitted in a listing for very good reason. Okay, and the more information you put in, the less information you're going to get out. Now, if you are searching for something that's very, very common name, like Main Street, you obviously want to go with a little more detail, because there is a lot of main streets out there in a lot of different cities. Okay, so you'll want to put in a comma and then enter the city name. Now, if you don't know the exact address, but you have an idea of what block it's on, you know it's on the 200 block of Plum, for example, you can put in 200, 2 dots, okay, and then 300 and the street name. Okay, it's not case sensitive, by the way. Okay, and there's examples down here of how you can use this different listing section. You can also search by taxes. So you can look for it by tax ID. You can say, you can put in an equal sign, okay? And then put in the name of the seller or the owner of the property, I should say, okay? And you can do a specific name like John and Smith, or you can put in something with an ampersand, okay? To separate two names, or you can even search by address. The last option is to search the roster. So occasionally we'll have a need to find another RMLS subscriber. Okay, maybe they called and you know, they left a name, but the phone number was garbled. So you need to look up their phone number, or, you know, for some reason you need to find another subscriber. You can certainly do that. You can look them up by phone number. Maybe you got the phone number on the caller ID, but the message itself was garbled, so you didn't get a name. You can search by their phone number, right? Or their email address or their name. Okay, so those are the different ways of searching in using the home page of the website. Okay. Now there's more in-depth searching that you can do. We have map searching that you can get to directly from here, advanced searching that you can get to directly from here. You can also get to those by going to the search menu and selecting map search or advanced MLS, whichever you want to do. But as you can see, there's a lot of different ways to search beyond those two, but those are the two most common ways that our subscribers search. So let's talk about the map search. Okay. I'm going to hit the clear button, and I highly recommend whenever you are working in RMLS Web and starting a new search that you definitely put in, or hit that clear button. Okay, because that clear button is going to allow you to start fresh and get rid of all of the criteria that was left over from the last search that you did. Okay. Now that being said, of course, if you did a search and then you went away and now you need to get that search back, don't panic. It's still there. As long as you performed the search, you know, got search results, that search, all the criteria will still be there for you. Okay. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, okay, and notice that I am way down south. If I need to go to a particular location, like a city, I can just write the name in there, and I'm going to put Oregon because the maps are pretty much global. So you want to put the state in there to make sure that you don't get to Portland, Maine, or something like that. Right. From here, I can use my mouse to move the map around. Okay, this is called panning. When I see the area that I want to designate on my map as an area I want to search in, I can now draw. Okay? And there's lots of different ways to draw a location or a shape on a map to say, this is where I want to work. Under draw, you can see that there's 6 different choices, and I'm going to go through each one of those choices. I can do a simple rectangle. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a rectangle over Hillsborough, and how I did that is I clicked in one corner, moved my mouse, clicked in the second corner, and now I have my shape. I can also use a circle. Looks like somebody's not muted here. Okay. I can also do a circle, okay? And by what happens when you draw the circle is it will let you see how far out from the center you are as you're drawing. So watch down here in this zoom level as I draw my circle, Okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to draw a circle around the airport. And I have a client that says they need to be within a certain distance of the airport. So I clicked, and now notice how the radius appears here. And as I move my mouse outward, you can see how far I am from the center. Okay, and then I click a second time when I get to the distance that I want to be from the center. Now the polygon is really handy because what that does is it allows us to sort of do our own shape, okay? So maybe I want to go along this section, and notice how every time I'm clicking, I'm getting a new map point. Then once I get done with all of my different points, I come back to the beginning square and click again, and now I have essentially a polygon. So it allows me to define where each spot is going to be. Now, if you are working on a tablet or a phone, the polygon is going to be super hard to use. So don't use polygon. What you want to use is freehand, okay? Because freehand will allow you to just put your finger on something and then just sort of make the shape, okay? It's much easier to use. So if you're working on a computer with a mouse, the polygon is the way to go. But if you are working on a phone or tablet, freehand is probably the better way to go. Okay. So now I can also edit these maps. So say I decided I don't need this particular one at all. Okay. I'm going to click in the center of it and then use this option called delete. Okay. And that just gets rid of it. Okay. But what if this shape isn't correct? What if I need to make it bigger or smaller or even move it around? I can do that. Okay. I'm going to highlight it to select it, and then I can grab a corner to make it smaller or larger, or I can click on the diamond in the center to simply move it around. So again, highlight, delete if you want to get rid of one, highlight, and then move the squares to change the shape or to move it around. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these because I want to show you a couple more, and it's going to get a little busy kind of watching what's going on. So I'm going to start fresh. And now I'm going to show you about drive time. Okay, it's called drive. And what this does is it allows you to draw a shape on the map that is a certain driving distance from some location or to some location. And how it works is once you select drive time, you set the duration, how long you want to take to get there, how much of a drive time you want. Right? So you've got several options here. I am just going to leave it at the default 20 minutes. Okay, and you can set either your arrival or departure time. And say you need to be there by 8 a.m. Okay. Now this red dot is the place that you are going to arrive to or depart from. That's going to take 20 minutes. Okay. And that can be moved. So say actually where I need to be is over here. I can certainly move this dot around to wherever I need it to be. When I hit calculate now, it gives me a shape on the map, okay, that tells me what's going on. You can have more than one, okay, which is really handy because if you have more than one person that you're doing the search for and they both need to have a drive time of 20 minutes to their offices or work or whatever, okay, daycare, whatever it is, okay, you can draw more than one drive. Okay. And this time we're going to move it and we're going to say, okay, this person needs to be here. And we're going to just use the same default time so that we can save time. Click on calculate. And now we have a second draw. Okay. Now this particular draw has a lot of overlapping. So essentially the first one and the second one really are pretty close together. But if they were far apart, what we would want to do is change the logic. Okay, that's what these two sections are, the logic from union to intersection. And what that does is when we do our search, we will only get search results that are common to both drive times, right? Or the third drive time or the fourth drive time. I'm not sure how many you can have, but you can have several drive times. And then if you use that intersection, it will only find search results where all of them are common. All right, I'm going to go ahead and delete these now and show you the last draw, which is called boundary. Okay. Now, boundaries are predefined areas or locations based on whichever one of these 6 options you choose. So if you are using MLS defined areas, okay, it will highlight them. And to select them, you just click on the areas that you want. If to deselect them, you do the same thing, just highlight them. Right? Now, here's a little trick with this areas. If you are working on a listing and you're not sure if the listing is in area 148 or 143 or 142, you're just not sure what the area number is, put the address in the locate, click on go. That will center the map over that location, and then go to draw an area, just boundary and area like we just did. And that will tell you what area number that particular property is supposed to be in. It's kind of a nice little trick. So other choices are zip code. Okay. Probably the most common ones that we got requests for are elementary school and high schools. Okay. And also neighborhoods. Okay, neighborhoods is another common one. I want to, clients say, I want to be in this particular neighborhood. Obviously, neighborhoods are very small, so you're going to want to zoom in a little bit to see more distinctly what they are. Once you have your areas or your locations defined on the maps, then you're going to switch over to criteria and add more things. Now, in your criteria area, you're going to see several that have this blue background or where the information goes is in blue. That means that these are required fields. You have to fill out that information. By default, okay, when you hit clear on the map search, by default, it goes to residential for your property category, active and bumpable for your statuses. You, of course, can add to those as you see fit, and then put in, of course, the price that you would want. I have no idea if this is realistic, but I'm going to put that in there anyway. And then if you scroll down, you can see there is a lot of other criteria that you can use in the map search. Now, if you're just getting to know the inventory, how many properties are out there, what kind of features do they have, that kind of thing, you're relatively new to everything, then what I recommend is once you put in your criteria, the basic required stuff, use the count button. Right? Because the count button will tell you how many matches you have so far. All right, so I'm going to take this down to one and put this up and count. I apparently don't have a whole lot of stuff. available in those areas. But you can see how that count gives you an idea of what you have so far. So you can broaden or narrow your criteria based on that count, but I'm not going to spend all morning trying to find a count. Okay, we're going to move on from here. Now this is basic map searching. There's also advanced MLS. Now the advanced MLS can use one of two things. We can use area numbers, okay, and you can see a list of the areas from here. Okay. It's also available under the help. So if you're not sure what the areas are, you can click on help and you can see all of the different PDFs that we have showing the area maps. Okay, so if you're interested in Douglas County, okay, you just click on that and you've got a map of all of the different areas, as well as written boundary lines to make what that map is showing you a little clearer. Like, what does this line represent between 255 and 258? Where is that? Or you can search by map range, just like we did before. Okay. So either way, it's entirely up to you. Now, when you search by map range, okay, because the map needs to be large, okay, all of the stuff up here at the top moved over here to the side, and as a result, the criteria is now in a little pop-up window. Okay. I'm going to switch back to area numbers so that we can see all of these as we're talking today, and I'm just going to put in an area number. When you're working with the advanced MLS search, your property categories, statuses, and either MLS number and map range are the required fields. Okay. It does default to active, bumpable, and short sale pending when you're working with the advanced search. The most frequently used fields to search by are right here in this green section. Okay. Notice that price is not considered is not a required field. So if you're not sure what the prices should be, advanced search might be for you. Or if you're trying to do a reality check for your client and say, okay, well, let's talk about what it is that you want or what it is that you're trying to sell. Let's see what we can find out there that's similar and what those are priced at. Sometimes seeing it that way kind of brings your clients around to a different way of thinking when it comes to prices. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few things. I'm in area 252. I'm going to put in bedrooms. I want a minimum of 3, but no maximum. I want 3 or more. You do not have to put in both a minimum and a maximum. You can do one or the other. Okay. Bathrooms, I want 1.1 to 3. Okay. Now you're using 1.1 because we do not count wholes and halves, we do fulls and partials. So the number to the left of the decimal represents how many full bathrooms you have and then or want, and the number to the right is the number of partial bathrooms that you have or want. Okay. So if you put 1.5 here, you're asking for a property that has 1 full bathroom and 5 partial bathrooms. That's not what we're after here. Okay, so you're going to miss some opportunities. Okay, I'm going to update. I'm going to do my count. Okay, and notice how I have 18, which is a very manageable number. I could go further, but that's not teaching you all of what the advanced search can do. So I'm going to keep going. There are additional criteria. And the additional criteria is in here. And notice, compared to the criteria that we had in the map search, this is much more extensive. You can basically search by any field in the listing when you're using the advanced MLS search. Again, the most commonly used and additional ones. Okay. Watch out for things that have a repetitive beginning name. So for example, additional structures. Okay. The additional structures go to a supplement area of the listing, not the primary. Okay, now that might go just a little bit over your heads, but that's okay. So that you have primary data, right? And then you can expand on that data using an additional form, okay, to give more information. We use that a lot for condominiums, for farms and ranches, which a lot of this comes from, okay? But the idea behind it is to expand on these properties. In most cases, when you have just a traditional house on a lot, you're not going to be using those supplements, okay? And as a result, if you have a client that's looking for the traditional house on a lot, you don't want to search using these supplements because they're not going to result in many matches, if any. Okay, so bear that in mind when you're doing your searches. So why I bring this up is there is a choice called workshop. You know, if your client says, hey, I just want a property, maybe, you know, house that has a workshop on it, you think, oh, okay, so that's going to be an additional structure. It's actually not. Okay, in that traditional house on a lot, it's going to be considered an exterior feature. Right? And here you have a list of all of the exterior feature possibilities. And of course, it's in alphabetical order, and workshop is one of them. Okay? So when you're searching, avoid any of these that have the repetitive beginning. Okay, so in this case, condo, it's a little clear there that, you know, if you're not looking for a condo, don't use that. But some of them aren't quite clear, like this additional structure section or the amenities section. That often goes to homeowners associations. All right. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to talk about waterfront, yes and no, and also view, yes and no. Okay. Your client sometimes can I go over that once more? Okay, so we're talking about, and here's another one. Okay, here's another one that's repetitive. Notice it says water rights in the beginning. Okay, and as we scroll up, we have supplement, has a repetitive beginning. Okay, non-owner. Okay, green energy. Okay, floating home. All of these go to a additional form that you can add to your listing when you are adding, you know, when you're listing a property in RMLS Web. You know, you've got all these farm features if you're listing a farm, you know, condo features if you're listing a condo, okay? Auction information, amenities, and you see all of these, okay? Don't use those as you're doing a search, when you're doing a search from the beginning, okay? For a traditional house on a lot, you want to stay with the basic criteria, okay? And let's see. Okay, so essentially, remember we were talking about this data input form, okay? This is what we would consider your primary criteria, okay? And while we don't have, I don't want to spend the time looking for the supplement forms, okay? It's not already a part of it, okay? So this is your primary criteria. This is the form that you have to fill out for every residential listing that you take. But then there's also additional forms or additional criteria that you can add to a listing to expand upon things where it might be necessary. For example, if you have a condo, if you have a farm or a ranch, of course, you want to be able to expand on how many acres are in pasture or how many acres are for cows or pigs or sheep, you know, that kind of thing, okay, for livestock. Okay, that would go to an additional form. So stay away from searching with those those repetitive ones. And of course, if ever you have questions, you're not sure, you're looking for something in particular that's not coming up, you can always call our help desk and ask them to help you find what it is that you're looking for and expand on that. I hope that helped. Okay, so let's talk about the waterfront yes or no and the view yes or no. Well, obviously, if we have a client, then they say, hey, I just want something with a view. View yes or no is going to work for you. You just tag yes and update and you're good to go. Okay? But what if they want a particular view? Okay, they say, hey, I really want to have a view of the mountains. Okay, so you'd highlight mountains, click on update, and that adds that to your search results. Now, where you might need to use them both in conjunction is what if they say they want a view, but there's certain views that they do not want. So for example, let's go back to mountains, and I'm going to reactivate that criteria simply by clicking on it in the choice box there. Okay. And instead of saying, I want a view of the mountains, they're going to say, I do not want a view of the golf course. And I'm going to hold down the control key on my keyboard and say, and also click on pond and update it. So now what our view is we're saying the view cannot be of a golf course or a pond. But what that also means is because no view is not a golf course or a pond, you're going to get things that don't have a view at all. So in this case, you're going to want to put in view equals yes in addition. So you're saying, I have to have a view, but it cannot be of a golf course or a pond. Okay, so you're going to use those two in conjunction. And the waterfront works the same way. Okay, waterfront description. Some people do not want other or seasonal as a waterfront. They want something a little bigger or year-round. Okay, so they would say not, and then choose seasonal or other. And again, you would need to select that waterfront equals yes option to make sure that all you got were things that did have a waterfront. I'm going to do my count, and I still have my 18. Okay, so I could keep going with all of the different things, but we're running, into the second half of class here, and we still need to talk about prospecting. Now, prospecting is a way for you to save a search for a particular client and then have the system, if you choose, start sending emails to your clients directly whenever there's new matches or new criteria comes into the system. And how you set that up is there's two different ways that you can do it. You can go to prospecting and select prospecting profiles. Okay. Or you can even start it right from this search that you were just doing. Notice in the upper corner here, it says new prospect. So what if I'm working with a client and the client says, you know what, this is great. Can you start emailing me some stuff and letting me know when everything's going on? You say, yes, I can absolutely do that. So let's go ahead and we're going to start a new prospect. Notice that this area over here changed from advanced MLS to prospecting new profile. All of our criteria is still there. We don't have to redo it, which is great. I don't like doing duplicate work any more than you do. Okay. It also takes us to the very first step of doing a prospecting profile. So I've got all of my criteria in here, and I'm going to save this. I'm going to click on Save As, and I'm going to give this a name of that way I remember I can get rid of it later, but you can call it whatever you want to call it. Okay. And I'm going to click on, when I click on OK, it's going to take me to the second step of creating this new prospecting profile. Step 2 involves tying this into a client and also talking about reverse prospecting. I'm not going to get into it too much, but reverse prospecting is a way of entering information about a property that you're trying to sell. And then the search results will be a list of agents that you can contact that may have prospects interested in that property that you're trying to sell. Okay? So I recommend that you do not block reverse prospecting until you are sure that that's what you want to do, because you do want agents to be able to know that, hey, you have a client that's looking for something. Okay, have them give you a call and say, hey, I have a property that I think your November 9 client might be interested in. We have a conversation. We decide, yes, it's great, or no, it's not. And then we move forward based on that, what we decided there and that conversation. Now, some people really like that. Some people really don't, but I think you should test it out first before you just automatically start blocking it. So we're going to leave that at no. Okay, and now we're going to click the next button here, which says add new contact. Okay, so when you click on add new contact, it actually brings up a list of all of the contacts that you have already set up in RMLS Web, either through prospecting or through Toolkit and Contact Manager. If the client that you want to tie this to is already in the list, just highlight it and click on OK. You can also click on New to create a new client if necessary. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and select one that's there. Now, if I had clicked on New, all of these fields would be blank, and I would just need to fill them in with the client's information. Only the first and last name is required. However, if you want to tie in and have this set up auto email, of course you are going to need to have an email address. Okay. Setting up auto email is pretty simple. Once you have put in your contact details, you select this box down here, auto email to contact, and additional information pops in. The first thing that you're going to check is the email days, the enable, disable. You enabled it when you turned it on, and of course you know, turn it off. Okay, it's basically the same as up here. Okay, but we turn this, it's already on. What days of the week is your client interested in receiving data? Now, some clients will say there are particular days of the week where they just don't want to get any email. Not often, but it does happen. Okay, so say, for example, they say Thursday's not good because that's the day that I do X. What will happen is any data accumulated on Thursday will automatically go out in the first email on Friday if there were any new matches. Now, emails will only go out if there is new data. So it's not like they're going to be getting an email on a regular basis saying, no new matches, no new matches, no new matches. That would be kind of irritating. They only get an email if there's new criteria or new information available for that client. And I bring that up because of this frequency. Keep in mind what your client is searching for. If they're looking for a 3-bath a 3-bed, 2-bath house in Portland between 100 and a million, and their parameters are really, really broad, there's a good possibility they're going to get more than one email a day because new information is coming on the market. Okay. You might be interested in, okay, I don't want 2 or 3 emails a day. I only want 1 a day. Okay, we can switch it to once per day. That being said, however, if your client's parameters are pretty narrow and there's a good chance, that they're almost never going to get 2 a day, leave it at multiple per day. That way they know about it as soon as possible if something comes on the market that matches what they are after. Okay. And of course, you just need to have a conversation with your client saying, hey, how do you want to get this set up? You can choose to have a carbon copy sent to you. So that means every time an email goes to your client, it's also going to you. A lot of agents like that. It helps to keep them in the loop so that when a client calls and says, hey, I like the second one on the list that you just sent me, you are well aware of what they are talking about. What report do you want to send? Okay. They have several different reports to choose from. Of course, the most common and the default is the client full. Do you want to show your report banner in the header of the report? Okay, that's the one that has your picture and your office's logo if it's been uploaded, along with all of your contact information. That's a good thing to keep there. You also want to put in an email subject. Let your client know what this email subject is. Okay, that way when they get this email from you and it has a link, they know that it's safe to open. Okay, also they need to know what to look for. If you say, did you get that email? What did you think? And they say, I didn't get anything. Have them check their spam or junk folder. Okay, because there is a link in the email, so that might cause it to go into the spam or junk folder. Tell them, yep, look for this. It's going to have an email subject of new stuff or whatever you guys decide you want to have in there. It's entirely up to you what you have as your email subject. But to let them know what that subject is so that when they see it, they know that it's from you and it's safe to open. And of course, you can have any text that you want. Bearing in mind that both the email subject and the email text are going to be the same thing every single time. So here's your first wave of listings is probably not going to be a good email subject because it's going to be the same every single time. You can also choose to append your email signature to the body of the text of the listing of the email as well, excuse me. Both the report banner and the signature can be created if they haven't already been done so by going to either the toolkit and user preferences or help and user preferences. Okay, so they can both be created in the user preferences section. So now we have it set up for our primary client, but what if your client says, hey, look, I also need you to send the same information to my friend, okay? But so there's a couple different ways that you can do it. You can set it up with a second email signature here or email address here, or up here at the top, you have add new contact. You can actually have more than one set up. Okay, so maybe Mickey Mouse wants auto email, but Yogi Bear does not. Okay. If he does, then of course you're going to go through the same process that you did for Mickey Mouse or for your primary client. But notice we have 2 different clients tied to this. It can also be done if you have 2 entirely different clients, okay, that want the exact same thing. Okay, why set up a prospect for each one when you can have one prospect and it feeds out to both? Okay, it all depends on your style and how you personally want to work. So once you have the client set up, you're pretty much done. You're going to click on Save in the upper right corner, and now you can see, right, here is our November 9. Right. Now, managing your prospecting profiles. Now, how you can get to this without going through the advanced search, of course, is going to prospecting and prospect profiles. It loads it right here. This red number you're seeing up here is letting me know that there's new information about one of these clients. Okay, and you can see that it's new right here. There's new information in there since the last time I cleared it. Okay, and that was as of 10/26. Now notice in the viewed column, there is an expiration date. That expiration date goes to the date that auto email will stop working. It does not go to prospecting. Okay, so the prospecting profile will continue to be there and matches will continue to work, but the auto email may expire. Okay, so you might want to do something about that if that date is getting close, and I'll show you how to fix that. Okay. How you will do that is you will click on the contact in the edit column, the contact for that particular profile. Click on save. Notice we have a save successful. Save in the upper right corner, and now notice that that expiration date has now been extended. Okay, so that's how you're going to change that expiration date for the auto emails. Your prospecting profiles have 2 lines of information if you have auto email set up for them. The top line of information is all about the prospect itself. Okay, the second line of information is about the client and the auto email. We already talked about the new link being the latest matches. Okay, so when I click on this, I can see all of the listings that match that client's parameters that are still available. Okay, so last time I looked is on 10/26. There could have been 7 or 8 of them that matched between then and now, but several of them have already gotten offers or been canceled, been withdrawn, whatever. They no longer match my criteria, so they're not going to display here. This tells us when we viewed them. Now this search link is actually handy. What it does is, say your client says, you know, you sent me some stuff a couple of weeks ago and it was out there, and can you just tell me if it's still available? Well, rather than trying to figure out what they're talking about, you can click on the search and it will show you all of the listings that still match your client's parameters. Okay, so it always shows you everything that's still available. The new only shows you the things that they haven't seen yet or that you are newer. Okay. To clear it, you just click this button and hit clear prospect matches. Okay. I'm not going to do that right at the moment because I'm going to go through that and do that again. Now this orange flag, I get a lot of questions about what is that orange flag all about? That orange flag means that there's nothing new. Okay, it's just a placeholder that will turn into this checkbox when new matches come in for that particular profile. So your client's working, you're working with your client, and your client says, yeah, this is all great, but we need to make some changes to the criteria. Under the edit column, you're going to click on criteria for the profile line. And that takes you into what you're looking for. Okay. You can make whatever changes you want to make. Okay, so maybe they want style and they do not want to story. Okay, you can update it. Save it. Okay, so now going forward, that not to story in the style is going to be there. So that's how you're going to change the criteria. Rename is self-explanatory. We talked about contact. Okay, contact is just a way for you to go in and make changes to the contact, update. Like that auto email is going to be expiring. Maybe they got a new email address or maybe a new phone number. Right? It all depends on what you want to do there. Now, delete and disable. Delete and disable have two different purposes. Delete actually gets rid of the prospecting profile. They bought something, they're happy, they're probably never going to come back and buy another house, at least not in the foreseeable future. You can just delete that prospect completely. Okay? But deleting the prospect doesn't mean you also delete the client. Okay, because the client is always still going to be available under your contact manager. Now, disable actually just turns off the prospecting profile. So let's say you're working with an investor, and the investor has called you and said, hey, look, I've invested all I'm going to for this year, so stop sending me stuff. And I'll contact you, next year once I have my budget for the next year, and we'll start this up again. So the needs of that client are not going to change. Okay, so you just might want to turn prospecting off for that client temporarily. Okay, so now notice it's been disabled. And of course, the auto email has also been disabled. Okay, but now it's 6 months later, they have a new budget for the year. They call you, say, let's start working again. You click on yes, and ta-da. Okay, so it's an on and off toggle. Now, when we're talking about the auto email feature for delete and disable, okay, obviously delete is going to delete the auto email completely. Look, stop sending me out anything. I want you to review all the listings before you send them to me. Okay, we're getting a lot of stuff that we're not interested in. You know what we like. Please just review it before you send it to us. Okay, so you're going to turn off auto prospecting or auto email by clicking on delete, and away we go. But let's talk about disable in a different scenario. Maybe the client doesn't want to permanently not get auto email, but for the next few weeks or a month, maybe they're going on an extended vacation, whatever reason they might have, but they don't want you to stop sending them stuff. They do just temporarily. You can disable it. And when you disable it, okay, then the prospecting will continue to work. Okay, but the only way you're going to know that there's new stuff is because this blue new comes up. Okay, you're not going to know because of being CC'd on their auto emails, because the auto email's been disabled. So what you'll want to do is clear all of your prospecting profiles. If you have a new here, get it cleared. Click on this button and hit clear view matches. Okay, that's going to put it all back to a none. That way, when your client comes back from their vacation or is ready for you to start sending them stuff, okay, can you just send me everything that's still available? And you can, absolutely, I can do that. You just click on new, select all your records, select the report that you want to send them, and email it out. From that point then, once you've done that, you can come back in here and enable the auto email. Okay, so that turns it back on again. Hey, thank you all for participating today and have a wonderful day.